Hey everyone, it's Jessica. Welcome back to the Barney Homestead. I am doing a few chores around the garden this morning. Figured I would take you guys along with me. I am in the process of hardening off some of my fall transplants and getting them in the garden, hopefully in the next week or so. But when I moved them outside this morning, I found a little bit of a surprise. So I'm gonna be modifying my hardening off process with a couple of my transplants, and we will see how it goes. So I'm going to take you along with me. First things first though, I pulled my corn out a few weeks ago and I saw this on Instagram from someone else where they just dried them and had their own fall decor. So I'm really excited. Mine are dry now and I'm really excited to have my own homegrown corn stalks for my fall decorations this year. So just thought I would share that with you guys. I'm really looking forward to having those in the front of the house, and they're looking really good. They dried really well. So the way my house is set up is it's a split level. So I have this area down by my back door that is pretty shaded. So this is the area you can see I'm in, like a little walkout area, and this half of it gets really good sunlight, the other half is shaded. So this is typically what I use to harden off my transplants, this area. They're protected from the wind, but not too much, so they still are able to build their sturdiness. But I have some flexibility between whether or not I want them in full sun or shade. So I don't have a very scientific hardening off process, unfortunately. I just kind of do what I feel is right. So I start with mostly shade for the first 2 days, an hour to 2 hours. Then I start to gradually phase in shade plus sun before I leave them out all day and overnight. My hardening off process typically takes about 7 to 10 days before it's fully complete. But I don't have a standard like 2 hours to stay in the shade, an hour in the sun. I just kind of put them outside and move them around and check on them every once in a while when I'm able to do that. So I do, as I shared in, I think my last video, I do work full time. So I'm not always home during the day. So I try to start my hardening off process on the first 3 or 4 days that I know I'm gonna be home. So maybe a long weekend, or I do work from home on Mondays. So it's a little bit easier for me to check on them. And then by that 4th or 5th day, I'm pretty confident that they'll be okay outside when I'm gone. But I don't have a set routine. I just basically look at the plants and they tell me what they need. So if I put them outside for 2 hours in the shade, but after an hour I check on them and they are wilting, I will bring them inside a little bit earlier. So I just kind of go by looks and feel, and that's my process. So the main goal of hardening off is to, of course, help your plants adjust to their outside life that they're going to have. So when you are growing or starting seeds indoors, you're growing in a very controlled environment. So it's typically the same temperature every day. You've got grow lights that are providing the best sun, or if you're growing in a window, they're getting the same type of sunlight every day. So the hardening off process really allows them to adjust to direct sunlight. Also things like wind, and then again, just varying temperatures. So it's important that you phase them in for that so they're not shocked. So usually, again, a typical hardening off process from what I've seen takes about 7 to 10 days. And, maybe longer, maybe shorter, just depending on the elements that you're working with. It's also great if they can get exposed to a little bit of rain before you transplant them. Again, just as much exposure to their new growing environment as possible before you put them in the ground into their permanent home. So here is what I have started in my indoor growing area that I'm going to be transplanting out. I'll show you that. So this is what I have started out here, minus another cell tray that I'll show you in a little bit. But I have got broccoli all over here that got really leggy when it germinated, so it's looking a little rough, but I think it'll pull through. I have my cabbage. These are also, so these are snap peas, sugar snap peas. You can see these also got pretty leggy when they started indoors. They are not hardened off. They've only been outside for 2 days, but because they're so floppy and droopy because they don't have anything to hold on to, I actually may just transplant them outside and take a risk and see if they can handle it. Here I've got spinach, which is doing really well, my Tuscan kale, and then another variety of snap peas. These are a little bit more of a bush variety, so you know, they don't look the best, but I think they'll be okay once they get hardened off. They're not nearly as long as these and leggy, so I may again plant these today just to get them by a trellis so they can start grabbing on and see what happens. Oh, and then I forgot, I did not get good germination on this, but this is cauliflower. The cauliflower and the broccoli, I'm not even sure that I'm gonna get anything this fall because we've been super hot for a lot longer than I anticipated. So I just don't know that I have enough growing time left. So as I mentioned, the broccoli and the cauliflower, so let me back up a second. I started all of those seeds indoors on August 2nd. It is now September 1st. So they've been there about a month. We had some pretty late, unseasonably warm weather in my area, meaning like 90+ days. So my hardening off process actually is starting about a week and a half to 2 weeks behind what I was hoping for. And as a result of that, I don't know that those things like broccoli and cauliflower are going to have enough time once they're transplanted out to generate the, you know, the flower, the actual broccoli or the cauliflower that you eat. But what I know is that if I don't try, I am for sure not going to get anything. So at least it's worth trying, and I have the space. But I'm not sure if that's going to work. I've never planted them in the fall, so this is all new to me this year. But then I told you there was one more seedling tray that I needed to make some adjustments on, and here it is. This is my bok choy. Look, I did not expect these roots when I pulled this out of the tray this morning. So because obviously I don't want those roots to grow too long in the cell because it's going to be just impossible to remove and get them out, I'm actually going to get them in the ground this morning. Again, they've only been hardened off for 2 days. I am taking a big risk, but what I know is since I started these seeds just about a month ago and how well they're doing, if they don't survive, I have plenty of time to direct sow and still get some. They'll just be a few weeks behind. So I'm gonna see if these pull through. I'll update you in a later video. And again, I think I'm gonna transplant that one variety of sugar snap pea that was really leggy, just so it can try to maybe start holding on to one of the trellises that I have in the garden and hopefully recover a little bit. So the other thing too for the bok choy, I'm going to be planting it in an area right, can I do this, right underneath this sunflower, which is right next to the trellis. And this area here is very, very shaded in my garden right now because of the sunflower and the trellis. And the rule of thumb is if you grow it for the root or the fruit, you need full sun. If you grow it for the leaf, you can manage in part shade. So I'm going to be transplanting the bok choy into part to mostly shade. So hopefully that will help it acclimate and it won't completely die off when I transplant it. But we'll have to just kind of see what happens. So here is the bed that I am going to be transplanting them into. I am going to clear away some of this straw just in one of the areas and then make room for the bok choy. I think I'm going to put it down the middle of the bed, just so this is going to be my lettuce bed, I think I've determined. So I'll put the bok choy in the middle, and that way, if, and fingers crossed that it does survive and is able to pull through, I've got my tallest stuff already growing in the middle, which won't create any other unnecessary shade when I go to plant my other my other lettuce seeds. And I'll probably be doing that a little bit later this week. So I don't break up the soil too much. I typically just kind of rake through this top layer just so that I can get a good foundation for transplanting. But you don't want to turn over your entire soil. You can germinate any weed seeds that may be down there, but also you really just disturb the soil that you have worked really hard to create. So you want to keep your tilling to a minimum. I pretty much do what I would say is no dig beds, but I do just kind of smooth out the surface of the soil with one of these guys. I don't even know what it's called when I go to transplant. I am actually not amending this bed right now. When I go to put my lettuce seedlings in, I will add some compost to the top of it, and I will just kind of side dress the bok choy. So I think it'll be okay because it's been planted in some new soil in the starter tray. So it'll be good to go for a few days until I get the other things put in. I don't even know if I can get this out. That is a really nice root system, but again, I am just so surprised at how quickly the roots grew on this. So I typically will put it in so that right where the leaves are growing out, that is right at the soil surface. I'm probably spacing them about 6 inches. I'm not also super good on my spacing. I just kind of do what I feel like is right. Most seed packages tell you spacing that you should follow. Again, I go a little rogue and do my own thing. I garden by feeling. I know sometimes that doesn't work for everyone, but it's just what typically works for me. This leaf broke, so I'm going to remove him. Found a little grub as I was digging in the soil, so I will put him in the bushes behind me so he doesn't eat my garden veg. All right, so I've got 5 of the 6 transplanted. I'll find a home for that last one, and all I did to finish was just move the straw back around to cover the soil. So everyone cross their fingers that these turn out. But again, they grow so fast that if I do lose them, it's not the end of the world. I will just replant. So there we are. So I decided to stick the last one right in the corner here, right next to the other ones. But these were the roots that were left at the bottom of the tray. So I know I definitely broke a few again. We'll see how it turns out, but I love the idea that if I don't plant them, I get nothing. If I do plant them, I've at least got a chance. So I'll just do a little walkthrough for you of everything that's growing right now. So in this bed here, my other square bed, I have my fall succession of beets, and then one succession of radish, and then another one that I planted the other day. So that is what is in there, and I'll just keep continuing to turn over the radish as they mature and I pull them. We just saw the one that I put the bok choy in. I have this gigantic sunflower still remaining. I'll probably start to take him out in another, probably a week. So over the weekend when I go to transplant the rest of my fall seeds. Still has some blooms, but very droopy, not producing anymore. And so, you know, again, I need this space. So I've got another sunflower on the other side that I can leave in a little bit longer, so I'll still be able to enjoy them. In my middle two beds, I am, you've heard me say it before, this plant is very sad looking, but I am waiting for the rest of my pumpkins and butternut squash to ripen before I clear that off. It actually has some new growth growing. Like, check this out here. There was a new butternut squash that formed, probably won't ripen, and there was another pumpkin that formed, which again probably won't ripen in the time that I leave it up. But I've got quite a bit, trying to find some shade. I got quite a bit in here. I have 5 pumpkins and 5 more butternut squash. Some of the butternut squash and pumpkin will be ripe this weekend and I'll harvest, and then probably another week or so for the remaining ones. And then once that's done, I will pull everything off of this trellis. I don't know that I'll use this trellis for anything in the fall. I may put some peas on it. I haven't quite decided yet, just because it'll be so late by the time it's cleared out. I don't know if I'll have enough time for the snap peas. The other things I have in this bed, I have a rutabaga, kohlrabi, a marigold, and oregano. So the rutabaga and kohlrabi, and just my chives that never move. The rutabaga and kohlrabi will need the entire growing season, but I did have some early planted kohlrabi that I pulled out, so I have a little bit of space left in this bed. Not quite sure what I'm going to plant there yet, but I may put the cauliflowers in there just because I have a few and it's a little bit of a smaller space, so that might be perfect for them. In the bed, the other middle bed, which is over here, the other side of the trellis, all I have in here right now is, can you see it? Parsley. I've got a sage, and then that bok choy that I just planted in the corner. So my plan for this bed is for it to be for my cabbages and kale, and maybe a few broccoli. No, just kidding. Cabbage, kale, and spinach. So this is going to be another greens bed, along with the square one that will just be my leaf lettuces. I may try to grow a couple small head lettuces in here. I have a variety that's called Little Gem, and it makes kind of miniature romaine heads, or grows miniature romaine heads, that I may try to grow as a little romaine head. Normally I grow it as leaf lettuce, but I may try to do that this fall just to see what happens. I've never tried it with that variety before. And then over here in these two beds, so I actually just direct sowed some snap peas on this side of the trellis a couple days ago, and I think I'm going to transplant those other ones onto the other side just to see if they take. They do need full sun, so they may very well not survive, but you know, it's okay. Snap peas grow. I direct sowed some, plus I have the other ones that I will transplant. So I think I'll be okay with what I need. And I'll know in a few days whether or not they're going to make it. I mean, just based on how they look. So if they look really, really sad, I may just pull them out and direct seed some more. Then the rest of this bed is going to be used for broccoli. I believe I have 6 of those, so they'll need quite a bit of space. And then over here on this bed, I have got some flowers remaining, a zinnia, a marigold, my other large sunflower. And in here I have planted carrots, which unfortunately have been eaten by the rabbits again. It is definitely probably too late to sow carrots, but again, I'm thinking I may put a few more seeds in, because if I don't plant any, I know I won't get any, And if I plant some, I may get a few. They may be small, but it may be better than nothing. I just have a really hard time with rabbits in my garden, especially this year. Usually the fall's not as bad, but they have just decimated the carrots this year. So I think next year I'm going to, with my garden layout, experiment with, sorry, I'm trying to find some shade, experiment with some hoop houses over my beds. So I do floating row covers, or I did them in the spring, but I can't install them in the fall because of the trellises, the way that they're designed. So I'm looking to come up with some different solutions for that next year. I also am expanding the garden next year. So I'm going to have a lot more beds without trellises in between them. So I think I can do some more permanent hoop house solutions for season extension and to protect against little critters. So I've got carrots in this bed. I also have some beets that did not take well. I've got a few very sparse ones that I'll leave. And then I've got, I almost said parsley. I've got cilantro in the corner. So that's kind of an overview of what I have going on. Any of the like open spaces or spaces that I can't fill, I will fill with just fast growing things. So things like lettuce, cilantro, I'll do a ton of, and just tons of radish. So I will just plug those in wherever there's open space throughout the fall season, because those take, cilantro is pretty quick once it gets growing, and once you cut it, it doesn't really grow back, so you really have to succession sow. And radish takes only 25 to 35 days in the fall because you lose sunlight, so it takes a little bit longer, but they don't take up a lot of space, so you can plug a lot of those in and get pretty consistent harvests of those. So that's what the garden's looking like right now. That is where my fall seedlings are right now in terms of their hardening off process. And overall, I'm pretty pleased with how things are coming along. And, you know, like I said, I will be sure to update you guys in a later video with how the bok choy transplants are doing, and also the snap pea ones. So you can see how that little experiment worked for me. I also do updates on Instagram. If you don't follow me over there, be sure to go ahead and give me a follow. My name is Barney_Homestead. So very similar to this channel. You can also find the information on this channel, but would love to see you over there and, you know, spend time with you on Instagram as well. So until next time, thanks so much for hanging out with me in my garden this morning. And I will see you in my next video. Take care, everyone. Bye.